Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Welcome back yet again.
So, as we'd mentioned, I don't know, maybe it was 3 or 4 weeks ago, we talked about updated figures from Texas and, not just Texas, too, as far as states that were hit with this deep freeze. Oklahoma is damn cold there, too, and I'm sure Kansas as well as Louisiana and Arkansas. This was brutal. And there was no way the numbers that we were getting were accurate. Now, we see a new study, a new analysis is saying that the Texas 2021 deep freeze left nearly 200 people lost. And I still think, who knows, it might be 5-10 times that in reality.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, it very well could be. We may never, ever know the truth either. That's just sad.
And so, one of our friends was sharing with us, he's bought another wood-burning stove, Mark in Kansas. So he's prepared. He got a good deal on another wood-burning stove. Can you have too many wood-burning stoves? That's a big question, And so if everything goes well and Cindy and I and Sassy and Zeke are situated in a new home, a regular home, then that's going to be the first thing on the agenda. That's going to be one of the first. Well, we're going to get stuff growing right away, but then, most definitely, before we get to colder weather in the fall, we are going to make sure we got ourselves a wood-burning stove.
Indeed.
So the grand solar minimum will last until 2070. 50 years, guys. We're just getting started.
Yeah, we got a long ways to go.
And, there's cycles within cycles. So, this talks about the 200-year cycle and going back to the last one, and there's a little video in there as well. The Dalton minimum, 1790, 1820, was followed by the end of the Little Ice Age, the Second Industrial Revolution, and then unprecedented demographic increase in the beginning of the modern global warming trend, which began in 1850. But as we said, these cycles happen all the time. There is a natural element to it, and then there's what many suspect is an artificial flavoring element to things as well. And how deep and how strong will this one be? That's a big question.
I know, I tend to lean toward more of the artificial flavoring aspect.
Yes, and when we get into the ID, interdimensional extraterrestrial aspect, there's a lot to look at there. Europe's polar cold is going to intensify through April as North America braces for a similar fate. And this is from Electroverse. Land masses across Northern Hemisphere are experiencing a true taste of the grand solar minimum this spring. As while brief pockets of heat have intermittently prevailed, Arctic cold has never been far away, forever threatening to wipe out those tender early season crops that have been tricked into sprouting. And that's what we were talking about not too long ago. We were just mentioning this. Don't be surprised. You get everything in the ground and, you're saying, hey, we're good to go. It's South Carolina this time of year, or North Carolina, or maybe you're over in Arkansas, or who knows where you're at. And then all of a sudden, the polar vortex dips with, everything going on with the magnetosphere. Can happen. And then, you're out of that time, effort, and work. And then you're behind the gun again, So really, it's best if we can get some sort of greenhouse up. And that's also in the agenda.
Mm-hmm. And there's all kinds of different ways you can do greenhouses. You don't need to be super elaborate either.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people even buying like the bins that we've used for moving, the plastic bins, and just simply putting them over individual plants or clusters of plants. That can work. That could keep them from getting that killing frost.
Yeah, so don't let limitations limit you.
Yeah, get creative and think out of the box. Here we see a study shows correlation between solar variability and El Nino and La Nina events. As we know, the sun's on roughly an 11-year cycle, and so there's a 22-year pattern that seems to come through. And most definitely what we have going on is, where it's dry, it's extremely dry, and, who knows how bad this fire season will be in the West. And we'll be on the lookout for unusual things from the sky, as well. And maybe more and more people will be ready with their cameras, with their phones ready to go, and see if we could catch some unusual activity that comes from the sky. And when we get these fires that pop up everywhere, and as we're talking about, where there's dryness, it's extreme. Same thing with the wet. And we have a severe drinking water and farming crisis in India as major tributaries of the Ganges River dry up. And so that's not good. Normally overwhelming the Mahendratanaya River through the Gajapati district in neighboring Andhra Pradesh in India is now completely dry. A severe drinking water and farming crisis is quickly sweeping across the region. And, it's interesting, DEAGEL, actually India is one of only a handful of countries that, according to the 2025 prognostication, is supposed to actually gain people. So it's curious, there's only, and they had a revised forecast in which kind of everybody goes downward as far as population. And many of you might have seen that. But yeah, it's interesting. But again, I got to think about WW, weather, WARFARE, going on between different countries, different factions as well. And we all know about the biblical prophecy of the Euphrates drying up to pave the way for the kings of the east with a 200 million man army. Which, can only come from a couple spots, including the fine dining ware country. And the other one that could possibly give you that many people would be actually India. And we do know about the Hopi prophecies, which talks about really the destruction of the U.S. From fiery missiles and stuff. And it did say it's going to be started by those countries who brought the world the ancient wisdom, which is commonly, again, interpreted to be the Eastern countries, perhaps, again, China and others as well. Although, as we know, there was that border dispute going on between China and India, so it wouldn't seem likely that they would be on the same side. But these are strange times, and here we see the KP index is up at a 5, so it's a minor geomagnetic storm. And we just got back from doing, I don't know, maybe a 3-mile hike through the woods there. Nice. It's so nice to get out. And we did see a deer, a nice big deer. And I think I saw a beaver or something along those lines go off into the brush.
But no gators.
Yes. We just can't find gators, so we're hunting around, and southern Arkansas is supposed to have gators. The very southeastern part of Oklahoma as well. And I tell Cindy, I lived in the low country of South Carolina, see them all the time, even more than I saw them in Florida.
Sure.
She doesn't believe me. So guys, we'll see. Yeah, one of these days we're going to be making a trip down to New Orleans and down into the bayou, and we'll see what we find out that way.
Yes, indeed we will.
So monster snowdrifts block Scottish roads. Southern Croatia sees first April snow ever as Whitehorse snowpack reaches 300% of normal. This is the trend now. This is definitely the trend. And then when we see stuff like this, more than 67 people lost their lives after a lahar from Mount Luotolo hits 2 villages. Then I start to think mudflood. And a lahar is a moving fluid mass composed of volcanic debris and water. And, our good buddy David Devine, Adapt 2030, he really does believe we're going to have a mudflood event in 2024. He thinks it's related to the magnetic pull of all the gas giants being in the same side of space. It's going to create kind of a tug of war on the Earth there.
Well, knowing how planets behave and how they act and interact, I can see that completely.
And we have deadly downpours triggering severe flooding in Queensland, Australia as well. It's everywhere we look. Honestly, we could just talk about floods, and I could probably, bring up 20 or 30 tabs of major flood events that are happening any single day.
Yes, we sure can.
Yeah, it's just intensifying. It is. It's all part of this cycle that we're in, and the Icelandic volcano is unleashing its third lava stream. People had to be evacuated from the area. A lot of sightseers wanting to go and take a look at the volcano. Remember Pompeii, guys.
Yeah,
Remember
yeah.
Pompeii.
Then there's that.
Well, there's always going to be people that are, going to see these events, especially like something that last time it happened was 6,000 years ago. And new fissures, by the way, are opening up near the eruption site as well. So hang on tight.
Absolutely.
Down in La Soufriere, over in St. Vincent's and the Grenadines, we have another earthquake swarm going on. Hang on, more activities coming. It just feels like there's going to be just such a major uptick, which there already is, but even more than what we've seen. I think, at some point in time, we'll probably see some awakenings in the Pacific Northwest. Now, the guides said that they felt that was still a little bit off.
Mm-hmm. They do. They believe that's a little ways away, within our lifetime, though.
Yeah, we will see it. Mm-hmm. And we have an earthquake swarm that we've been talking about in the Los Angeles area that has ruffled some bottoms, I guess, or so to speak. USGS received more than 7,400 I felt it reports. Thankfully, nothing major, but is this a foreshadowing?
Yeah, I'm glad no one's hurt.
Vienna Minoff is active again as well. The color code, aviation color code, raised to orange in Alaska. It's one after another awakenings going on here.
I know.
And here's for the big news of the day. And usually I pronounce this a certain way, but I'm going to pronounce it the other way. We have mysterious X-rays that are flaring out of Uranus.
Oh my gosh, that's so terrible. I'm scared.
Well, Uranus is always full of surprises.
I'm so scared. You guys help.
Oh, God, guys. You know what? We got to take a laugh every now and then, right? So, for the first time, astronomers have detected mysterious X-rays flaring out of Uranus. How could this be happening? According to NASA scientists, Uranus is so massive that it could just be scattering X-rays given off by the sun more than 1 billion miles away. Or perhaps the fine rings of dust surrounding Uranus are generating their own radiation through some unknown process. A closer study of Uranus is required to know for sure.
I know. It's like, do they really put this together for giggles like this? Or are they serious? I don't know.
And the timing, too, as Zeke is giving us some gas emissions right now.
Yeah, Zeke has issues.
So Uranus is a cold, windy, and made almost entirely of ice and gas. Yes. Even though it's enormous, with a diameter about 4 times Earth's, Uranus is difficult to study in depth. Only one spacecraft, NASA's Voyager 2, has ever made the perilous journey to the planet, forcing scientists to rely mostly on telescope observations from a distance to be safe, much closer to Earth in order to study the icy giant. In a new study published March 31st in the journal JGR Space Physics, astronomers looked at some archival observations of Uranus taken by NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory, an orbiting telescope that scours the universe for sources of X-ray radiation. According to NASA, X-rays are emitted when matter is heated to millions of degrees, like when stars explode, or when matter swirls around the edge of a black hole at near light speed. Until recently, X-ray emissions have been detected from every planet in the solar system except Uranus and Neptune. In most cases, these emissions occur when X-rays created by the sun crash into atoms in a planet's atmosphere, scattering the light back out into space. In the new study, researchers looked at the Chandra data taken from Uranus in 2002 and 2017 and saw clear evidence of X-ray emissions in both years. There you go.
Yes, with all of this going on, I'm quite concerned, actually.
Well, I would lay off the Mexican food.
Thank you.
So guys, thanks for being part of the family. Make sure you are subscribed and have the bell click for notifications. Thanks for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon, because we couldn't do it without you and your support. Anybody that needs to set up an appointment, reach us at evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com or EEARTS@protonmail.com. As always, have a plan, stay prepared, and Cindy's going to give us a ding.
Oh, yes, I am. I am. Here we go, kids. God bless and namaste.
God bless and namaste.